Hi guys, this is Wizard1 back with a full review of the Xiaomi Redmi Note 4 International Edition. I bought this from GearBest for $217 US or about 289 Canadian. This is the second phone that has MIUI 8 on it that I have reviewed, the other one being the Xiaomi Mi Max. Unfortunately, I cannot show you the Mi Max right now because I'm actually using it today to film my very first 4K ultra high def video review. So just very exciting time for you as well. Quickly running down the specs of this phone. The Redmi Note 4 has a 5.5-inch Full HD screen, which has a pixel density of 480 pixels per inch. It has a 5 megapixel front-facing camera and a 13 megapixel back-facing camera with dual tone flash and as well as a fingerprint scanner. On the top we have a IR blaster here, which is able to use it to control various electronics like TVs and VCR, or no one really uses VCRs anymore, but DVD players and whatnot. And it's a very cool feature that most phones don't have anymore. The Redmi Note 4 is powered by a Mediatek Helio X20 Deca core CPU, supported with 3 GB of RAM and a large 64 GB of internal storage. It also has a reasonably large 4100 mAh non-removable battery. For a full rundown of the specs, please check out my unboxing video for the Redmi Note 4. The total weight of this device, including this case here, is 190 grams. Personally, I like this type of case. If you can see here, there's a lot of bumps on it. The actual bumps are actually inside the case, which keeps the phone away from direct contact with the case. So if you were to drop it, the phone does not take the brunt of the force or the shock, and it's distributed with these little bumps. Be forewarned that this is going to be a relatively in-depth video, so a long video. So if there's only specific aspects of the phone you really want to know about, please check out the description below for the table of contents of this review. So software-wise, the phone itself came pre-installed with MIUI 7. It wasn't until I loaded it up and connected to my Wi-Fi that MIUI 8 got pushed to it. Both are based on Android6 Marshmallow. If you have followed my previous reviews, you probably know that I personally prefer using a Nova launcher for most of my phones, and this is no exception. It's just really customizable, and I really like the overall feel of it. MIUI doesn't have an app drawer. It basically shows everything on the screen. I don't really like that. For those who want to know how to change the default launcher, it's very simple. All you do is you install your preferred launcher from your app store. And then after you have it installed, you go to settings here. You go to installed apps. And then you go here down to defaults. So once you get to defaults, you see launcher, and you can basically choose the launcher you would want. So included on this is also you can change the default apps for dialing phone, for your messaging, your browser, your camera, your gallery, music player, email, and video. Okay, so that's really about it in terms of customizing your launcher. So one thing I also want to note is that I might actually flash this with a different ROM or maybe even root the phone, as it has a lot of the Google apps pre-installed on it, and you cannot either disable them or even uninstall them, so you're stuck with them and running in the background. So typically, if you look here, you're left with about 1.3 gigabytes of available RAM. Even if you clear it out, you're usually left between 1.4 and 1.5 memory in the background out of the 3 gigabytes available. So when you want to optimize the phone and you're pressing that, it still only does that, releases about half of the available memory. So when we look at the battery life of this phone, which is usually the most important part of any phone that you're interested in buying, they do advertise about 2 days worth of battery usage on this phone, but in reality, in practical terms, you'll probably be looking at about one full day of mixed usage without the need to actually charge the phone. So in terms of battery charging, you can see here that I basically charge the phone from 0 up to 100% using a regular 2.4 amp power source, which was my power bank, and it took a total of 2 hours and 41 minutes to fully charge it from 0. While it's not really stated, I'm pretty sure the Helio X20 supports Mediatek's Pump Express quick charging technology. Using my Oki 20,000 milliamp hour quick charging power bank, you can see here that I charged the phone in a total of 2 hours and 24 minutes with basically quick charging means that it's variable voltage, so you can see that it's about 20 minutes less than what it would be on regular charging. Speaking of power, the phone itself has a really aggressive power management system or power optimization system, which is actively running in the background. At the beginning, I found it really annoying for when apps such as Skype, Nest, eBay, and even my battery monitoring program just kept on closing, and I couldn't figure out why they kept on getting closed. And I later on found out it was because of MIUI. So however, it is possible to personalize your phone and add specific apps to an exception list so that they don't get optimized while running in the background. The fastest way to do this is to click on the settings here. So you can click on the settings right here. Whoops. And you go down to battery and performance. You click there, you go to manage apps battery usage, and you can see here that MIUI defaults to restrict all background activity when possible. So if you want to modify that, you just go to choose apps, and basically the custom is the modified app. So if you click on Nest here, you can see here that basically that you can basically allow certain apps to run or restrict them. So this one's restricted completely. So in terms of that, you can also go into system apps here. And one thing I want to note is that when I mentioned that the Google apps cannot be disabled or deleted, you can still go in and restrict background activity and force MIUI to really close this app if it is in the background, which will save you power from preventing the default Google apps that cannot be removed to save power. The only other way to do it is really to either root the phone or flash it to remove the apps altogether, but then you might not get pushed updates, and then every time a new update comes, you're going to have to go and download them manually, install them manually. I guess this is the only way to deal with these types of system apps, aside from removing them altogether. Another feature found on the phone, well, on all MIUI 8 phones, is a feature called second space, which is what Xiaomi uses, which is similar to what some of you might be familiar with, which is Samsung's Knox feature, which allows you to run 2 separate and independent installations of Android on the same phone. This feature isn't that useful for me, but I can definitely see people using it in order to separate their personal profiles or their personal apps from their work and business ones. Obviously, with the installed 64 gigabytes of onboard memory, it'll make it very easy for you to really separate your apps without much problem. You can probably separate them 32 gigs. Okay, so the next thing I want to look at is the reception of this phone. This phone should be supported by Bell, Rogers, and Telus. However, I want to warn you in advance that you might want to go to the link listed in the description and the link on the screen right now to show you to make sure that the cell phone towers in your area do support and are running band 7 LTE at 2600 megahertz, and make sure that's deployed in your area. Deployment really depends on your city, as like Rogers has it widely supported in Toronto, but for some reason not in Montreal. So getting that out of the way, I would like to say that my tests have shown that the Redmi Note 4 does some pretty well fast speeds on LTE compared to many other Chinese smartphones I've tested. As you can see here from my screenshot, that downstream ranged from 64 megabits per second up to 89 megabits per second, while the upstream ranged from 11 megabits per second up to 25 megabits per second. Overall, these speeds are quite good, as other Chinese smartphones typically average about 60 megabits per second maximum up and about 15 to 20 maximum down. Obviously, cellular data speeds would depend specifically on your actual carrier and your location. Signal penetration for this phone is also pretty good. I'm able to get full 4G reception when I'm in places traditionally with poor reception. While in places that I always get bad reception, such as Canadian superstores and also Walmart superstores, I still get bad reception. And I think that's just because of how those buildings are built. There's probably a lot of wiring in there and a lot of metal in there. So it's not really the phone's fault. Somewhat related to reception is to the speed of which the phone's GPS can lock onto satellites. So let me just quickly pick up my GPS testing app, which is right here. So 1000, 2, 1000, 3, 1000, 4, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1000. Okay, so about 8 seconds. Typically, it's actually normally faster. I don't know why it's taking 8 seconds. I guess because the chip was just booting up. So if I get out of the app completely, so let me get out of the app and optimize, close in the background. And let me just try running it again. 1000, 2, 1003. So see, it's a lot faster after you run it once, and I had cleared it off the memory, so it wasn't running in the background. So you're getting about 3 seconds before it gets a 3D fix, which is really good. Is typically with most Chinese smartphones out there that are not Xiaomi ones, you're looking to about 4 to 7 seconds for a 3D fix, so this is extremely fast. In terms of the internals, you can see that the phone here has a wide variety of sensors. So let me just quickly... Okay, so we have a wide variety of sensors. So we have an accelerometer, a gyroscope, magnetic field, compass, the light, proximity sensor, and the fingerprint sensor. It does not support pressure, temperature, humidity, step, or heart rate. For the remaining internals, the phone itself is running a... Let me just go back. The phone itself is running the Mediatek X20 Helio CPU. In our initial unboxing of the Antutu Benchmarks, it resulted in a score of about 77,000 to 78,000. However, after I mentioned that I optimized a lot of the apps and prevented a lot of the Android apps from running in the background, we got a higher score of about somewhere between 82 to 85,000. Which is very surprising. Again, the only thing I can think about the reason why there's difference in the score, such a big difference in the score, is because I permanently optimized and restricted all the default Google apps in the background. So if you compare this score to my Xiaomi the Mi Max, the score between this one and the Snapdragon 650 is pretty much on par with each other. There's only maybe like a 2,000 point difference. The only real difference is if considering this phone or any other phone between Snapdragon and Mediatek chip, is that you can expect a lot more development and support from developers or from hobbyists in terms of custom ROMs with Snapdragon, while there's a lot less of that for Mediatek CPUs. Okay, so in terms of the screen, we have a standard 5.5 inch 1080p Full HD display with 480 pixel density. It offers vibrant colors as well as excellent viewing angles. On the back here, we have the 13 megapixel back-facing camera, which is also quite excellent. It's extremely fast at taking pictures with little to no shutter lag because it uses PDAF. So let me just quickly show you. So let me just quickly so just watch here. So absolutely no lag in taking pictures. Okay, so the camera app itself has options for panoramic mode, for timer mode, for audio, manual, auto straighten, beautify, HTT, which is basically handheld twilight mode. Basically what that does is it stacks 6 frames of high ISO pictures together in order to generate a high ISO picture with less noise than what you would normally find on a high ISO picture. The last mode is basically the manual mode, which only allows you 2 options, which basically white balance and select the ISO mode. So this is a little disappointing, as other phones I've tested like the Mi Max gives you more options in terms of options for manual. So you can have such options as white balance again, focus, exposure time, and ISO settings. Looking at the video capabilities of this phone, it can basically film in full HD 1080p, 720p HD, as well as lower res options. On top of that, if you look at the modes here, you can actually film in time lapse, which basically speed up version of video, as well as a slow motion. Both of these can only do basically 1080p. So watch my my raw videos that I have up here, as well as the links if you want, and you can see the raw videos that this phone has taken. I didn't put it into the video here because video processing would basically upstream it or upscale it to the 4K that I am filming right now, and you wouldn't really get a good idea of how it looks. So one thing I also want to note is that this phone has one annoyance, and that is that MTP mode, USB MTP mode, does not work with I guess with MIUI 8 phones in general. This problem also cropped up when I was testing out the Mi Max. No matter what I try, I cannot get MTP to work. Even when I have it enabled, it does not show up on my computer when I plug it into the computer. This will make transferring pictures, videos, or files extremely tedious, as you will need to utilize the phone's OTG support and to copy the files to an external USB drive before plugging that drive into your personal computer and copying the files off the memory stick. So I really hope that Xiaomi fixes this problem soon. One more also thing to note is that for 4K recording, this phone seems to restrict it to a maximum of 8 minutes per clip. So you'll see even in this video that there will be some transitions or cuts because I had to separate this review into 8-minute segments. Okay, the final 2 things I want to talk about is the sound quality of the internal speakers and how this phone handles resource-heavy apps. So, let me quickly show you music first. Let's go from beginning. So. Okay, so you just heard there Starboy as well as Incomplete from the Backstreet Boys. The sound is really crisp and clear, and there is some bass in there, so I'm pretty happy with the overall performance of the speakers, and it will definitely offer you a pleasant listening experience. Okay, so lastly I want to talk about how the phone performs with resource-heavy games such as my usual testing app, which is the Gameloft's Asphalt 8 on the Nevada track. So let me just quickly load up my CPU monitoring device. And run Asphalt. Okay, I'm going to tell you now that because the screen's so small, well, not so small, but because it's a standard size screen, it's really hard to play with this thing staying here, but I'm going to try my best, so don't fault me if I'm crashing all the time. Oh, okay, I can't see. Okay, so you can see that basically it ran with a it basically ran with overall load of about 20% of the full CPU. So the phone can definitely handle high drain apps such as Asphalt 8 and probably a lot more of other stuff in the background before the phone can actually lag or do whatnot. So I think that's going to be all for the review of the international version of the Xiaomi Redmi Note 4. Overall, it has a beautiful, sharp 1080p Full HD display with more than enough computing power to and features for an all-around enjoyable phone experience. The strong LTE reception and fast GPS ensures that the phone will be able to keep up with you when you need it the most. Coupled with its decent 13 megapixel camera and its video abilities, this phone is an all-around great phone at a very reasonable price. Thanks again for your time for watching this review. If you have any questions or concerns or comments regarding this review or any of my other reviews, please leave a comment below and I'll do my best to answer you promptly. If you enjoyed this review and want to see more videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. This has been Wizard1 reviewing the Xiaomi Redmi Note 4 International Edition. Thanks for watching and have a great day.